Hey everyone, welcome back to Good Game Edmonton. I'm your host, Sellercast, and this is PartyChat, a quarterly roundup of Alberta's interactive digital media scene in collaboration with Digital Alberta. This is our Q3 update and the one where we look back at summer's biggest stories, celebrating the wins, and peek at what's coming up next for game devs across the province. Today, I've got two awesome guests joining me who live and breathe this industry. First up, I got Nathaniel Rossol, co-founder and creative director at VR Cave. They've been innovating in multiplayer VR to deliver jaw-dropping escape room experiences for players and providing a proven business model for owners since 2017, if I got that right. And of course, next up, Travis Gibson, part of the Digital Alberta board and senior business development manager at Snowden Studios. He strives to foster local game development and help bridge the gap between the creative and business side of the industry. Welcome, guys. Great to have you both on the show.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome to be here.
Yeah, great to be here.
Love it. Thank you. Well, before we jump into the headlines, let's hear a little bit about yourselves and what each of you do, a little bit more about your studio, and anything you can tell us right now as far as what you've been working on. That's not blocked by an NDA.
That is fair. There's quite a few NDAs out there. So, so I'm Travis. I'm part of Snowden Studios. We are a co-development studio out of Ottawa, roughly 200 strong, mainly engineers. I'm kind of the black swan that's all out west here in Edmonton. We are, of course, a part of Keyword Studios. We've been working with Bethesda for the last 10 years. We've been working with Turn 10 on Forza Motorsport, Diablo 4 with Blizzard, you name it. We're actually the studio behind Fallout Shelter, the mobile game, for the last number of years. So when I
played that game. It's fun.
It is surprisingly addictive still 10 years later. I almost have to uninstall it at times to make sure I get my work done. Yeah. But it's awesome. The new TV show season's coming out, so we'll see what that means for content, perhaps.
Noise.
But other than that, I'm the board member of Digital Alberta, which I think you can tell how I got on this podcast at this point. So I'm happy to be here and happy to chat.
Appreciate it, Nathaniel.
And I'm Nathaniel Rossol, CTO and co-founder of VR Cave. VR Cave makes virtual reality games, specifically multiplayer virtual reality games. So we got our start in VR escape rooms, and now we're kind of expanding into the home market a little more. We're about 25-ish people strong right now, and we're Edmonton-based.
Nice. Awesome. Sorry, just quickly going back to you, Travis. You mentioned Snowden Studios is a co-development studio.
Yes.
Quickly, for those at home that don't know, what is there any significant difference of that compared to a regular studio or?
It's the number one question that I get, especially when I say, hey, I work in games. And they're like, oh, what games did you make? I'm like, well, we've made quite a few, but not in the way you think. So co-development just means that we work on other people's projects. So, for example, like I said, we worked with Bethesda for the last 10 years. We were one of the studios that was on Starfield. We're the studio that is kind of doing the live operations, live service for Fallout Shelter. We helped ship and obviously developed the game Forza Motorsport for Turn 10. You name it. So the biggest difference is just it's not our projects and not our own IPs. We're essentially a strike team that comes in that our client brings on board. In our case, it's engineering focused first and foremost, but there's other studios out there that can be in art or VFX or audio or you name it, right? Co-development, or let's say the external development industry as a whole, is a very massive section of the gaming industry that most casual fans aren't familiar with.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks for that insight. A little factoid for this episode. So thanks for that, Travis. Okay, well, we're going to just dive right into these headlines across Alberta's IDM scene this past quarter. And there's been a lot. Definitely lots going on compared to earlier in the year. Kicking it off with Gamescom 2025. Of course, Alberta made a strong showing at Gamescom this year over in Germany. We saw rebound Rebounder from 33 Games, Inferius from Lucid Rain Studios, Drongerine from We Need Weevils Interactive, Hunter's Moon, a Sovereign Syndicate adventure from Crimson Herring Studios, and Foul Scourge from Void Cup Games, Our Eyes See No Evil from COG Studios, and Heroes Together from VR Cave. Plus, Edmonton Screen and Scaffold Institute were there repping the province in a huge way. Big takeaway, Alberta studios are learning how to pitch. They're learning how to network and thriving on the global stage. Just wanted to kind of get your thoughts, gents, in terms of Gamescom. Of course, Nathaniel, you were there with the team repping VR Cave. Tell me, like, how was Gamescom this year? How many times have you been going, whether just yourself on behalf of the studio or with the team? What was the experience like?
Yeah, so this was, I think, the third year in a row that we've gone to Gamescom. In the past, we've gone to demo our escape room product lines, but this was our first time with a home game, which was Heroes Together VR. And it was also our first time doing demos in a booth. And that was quite the experience. So you're on the show floor from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So they're long days. Yeah, they're definitely you definitely feel it by the end of the day. We had players playing the game basically from start to finish every day. So there was almost no downtime, which was good. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Our goal was to gather a bunch of wish lists for the game and just get it out there. And we had some media come by as well. And we were successful in getting a media story, a very brief one on Upload VR. Nice. So that was a success. We got close to 2,000 wish lists.
Oh, wow.
Which
Nice.
Between Steam and Meta, which was good. It was exceeding our expectations there, and we gave out a lot of the stuff that our marketing director Ryan. There's ideas he had that I was like, is that really going to work? He's like, we can give people pins and encourage them to wish list and they get a pin. I'm like, is that really going to work? And then when you're there, it worked like a charm. Like people were like, oh, can I get a pin? And we're like, yeah, but you got to play the demo. I'm like, oh, well, sign me up. And then they signed up and like, oh, wish list. Like, let me do that right now.
Yeah.
So
people love pins. Like that's like you'd be surprised in terms of the swag and stuff that you give away. It's like half the reason sometimes people are there. They collect them. They love them. It's its own little thing.
Yeah. I was surprised, but you're totally right. Yeah. So it was a whirlwind. We were quite exhausted by the end, but happy with the outcome.
Yeah. Well, kudos to Ryan there on the pin idea. I guess in terms of the on the consumer side, like what were some of the reaction in terms of obviously getting wish lists, of course, on Steam and whatnot. But, what were some reactions from people demoing the game? Like anything that kind of stood out or just overall reactions?
Yeah, it was quite interestingly, it was way more popular with kids than we thought it would be. So we were kind of going in, we thought it's going to be like the 18 to 35 demographic. That's who we were expecting.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were showing up with young teens or young teens. And they really enjoyed it too. And in fact, they seemed to be the ones enjoying it the most. Like they were laughing their heads off and screaming at each other and having a really good time. And we've been told there's been a bit of a shift in the VR home market, more towards teens and younger audiences. And I see it, I think I can, like, just seeing it there in the show, I'm like, oh, I completely see why. They're just way more engaged with the medium. So there's definitely something to that.
Nice. VR is definitely coming back, especially for the younger demographics, it seems. But no, that's good. I will say confidently, and we'll obviously talk a little bit about it later, but Alberta Game Series just happened this week as we record this episode. I had the pleasure of actually demoing Heroes Together from you guys from VR Cave, and that honestly, that was fun. I chose Knight. I feel like I was maybe better off playing the Archer. I was trying to see if I could get a consensus of, which player type is better, but I definitely did my best with the sword.
Yeah, did you get the sword chopping technique down? A few people struggle a little bit with you can't just wiggle your wrist. You got to
Yeah.
proper swings.
Yeah, no, I was
You can't
kind of
choose it.
going back and forth with that. Because obviously, you get lazy with, Wii and controllers like that in terms of those mechanics. But I think with VR, I definitely was starting to get the hang of it. But still, the skeletons kept coming out of nowhere. And I was also trying to make sure, am I going to hit anybody? There's definitely plenty of space, but, you still kind of have that anxiety of, are you going to run into anyone? But especially since we ended up having, I think, a full group of 4 people. And I was lucky enough that one of your team members managed to get a photo of all of us demoing. So I have proof that I demoed it. I had proof I got to AGS. So I'm excited to share that later on. But just wanted to provide that quick little tidbit. So really, really enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing more success for you guys on that. Travis, did you get a chance to make it out to Gamescom this year?
No, I didn't go to Gamescom this year. I went last year.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things where the main show that I attend is XDS in Vancouver at the start of September, so the External Development Summit.
Okay.
So doing the back-to-back is a little grueling, to say the least. So we focused our attention on XDS this year. But Gamescom itself is just a beast of a show.
Yeah.
And I'm only usually there when I do go for the first 2.5 days. By the time Friday afternoon comes around, I'm heading for the airport, and you guys are still there for the entire weekend with all the consumers.
Yeah.
I'm more on the B2B side. So I as soon as Thursday hits, actually, I don't leave that B2B section at all because I'm scared.
I love that. You mentioned another conference that happened at the beginning of September this year. Tell us a little more about that one. And, is it something like folks like VR Cave should be checking out, or tell us a little more about that conference and why you guys focused on that one.
XDS in Vancouver, the External Development Summit. It happens every year at the start of September. I think next year it's actually going to be a week later, I think they announced, which is great. So I can actually send my kids off to school without having to worry about the first day of school.
Yeah.
But it's a very niche conference. It's for external development providers and buyers, essentially.
Yeah.
So typically, the gaming industry is the largest in the world, but it's also the smallest, and everybody knows everybody, especially in the external development side, right? We work with the same clients that our competitors work with, and we're all talking, we all know each other. So this is really our chance to get in person as a group, essentially, the 1,000 of us or however many attend, and really spend that week together, chat, have a lot of fun, explore new possibilities, explore working together. XDS does a really good job of bringing out studios that maybe can't afford to come sometimes. There was a studio there that was from New Zealand, and there's only a handful of New Zealand external development studios. And so I think they brought a whole Africa crew this year, which is really great to see, right? So that show is more for people, whether they are wanting to buy services or they're typically in the outsourcing or external development market, always buying something, or if they're an external development service provider, which obviously Snowden and Keywords are.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that insight, little off script for that one for context, but I appreciate that. Well, speaking of international, Luke Ezadu from Edmonton Screen was at the Venice Film Festival and dropped some wisdom for everybody that the future of media isn't just about content creation, it's how we build, fund, and distribute stories in a world of AI, XR, and shifting investment models. Couldn't agree more. I feel like that resonates. I feel with you guys, of course, especially you, Nathaniel, on VR, XR, AR, and all that. Plenty of potential of just telling new stories in new and creative ways for fun new experiences for all ages to enjoy. And of course, for anyone that wants to learn a little more about Edmonton Screen, what they do, or even just to get in touch and to express any feedback, whether you're on the game development side or just an enthusiast within the space, you can head over to edmontonscreen.com. CMF investments for Alberta Studios. Really great update in the last quarter. Of course, the Canada Media Fund continues to show support towards the games sector, this time through the Innovation and Experimentation Program. $15.4 million was allocated towards 14 video game projects across the country, 3 of which are based here in Alberta, going towards production. Support, of course, went towards Claire Audio from Only by Midnight and Furious from Lucid Rain Studios, good friends of the show earlier on in the podcast, and of course, Project Mobius from VR Cave. Nathaniel, of course, you being one of the recipients of this funding, and of course, one of 3 Alberta studios from the country in terms of funding allocated. Tell me, what does this funding mean for you and for VR Cave, and especially with this project going forward?
Yeah, I should probably clarify. Project Mobius is Heroes Together VR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just in case that wasn't clear.
Okay.
They're the same game.
Yeah.
It's just we had a code name.
Codename was great.
While we were working.
Codename was great.
And then we only officially landed on the name just before Gamescom.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So
Everybody loves a good code name, anyways.
Oh,
yeah, so Mobius is the code name, and we picked. People say like, "Why Mobius?" We're like, just because it sounded cool.
well, I guess that goes my next question.
Yeah. So with the project, we definitely had the idea for a while to build a class-based RPG VR game. Just from our experience with the VR escape rooms, we knew we wanted to do multiplayer VR. And then what the CMF funding allowed us to do is we originally, without CMF funding, it would have been a much, much smaller project. It would have been very small scale, very, very tiny. And then, but with the funding we got from CMF, we can go all out, build a full-blown, much larger, more expansive game than we wanted. So that's really what it's enabled for us, and we're grateful we got it. We were pretty shocked because it's such a competitive program.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we worked a bit with. Well, you mentioned Scaffold Institute earlier. They partner with Shred Capital, and they were super helpful in getting our application together and making it strong.
Awesome. Well, shout out to Scaffold for that. Yeah, I guess, in terms of being one of 3 Alberta studios, as a co-founder, from that high level standpoint for VR Cave, what does that mean to you to being amongst the 3 chosen from Alberta? You talk about it being extremely competitive to get funding, but now to be one of 3 in this round, what does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, well, we feel incredibly blessed. We're really grateful that they saw the vision that we were putting forward, and yeah, we're really we hope we'll do a good job of representing Alberta.
No pressure. No, I trust you and the team will do fantastic, I'm sure. There's no doubt about that. And if the demo at AGS is anything to be said firsthand, I think you definitely you're on your way for sure, and excited to see the expansion of the project and more feedback from the consumer side, and seeing where it takes you from there.
Oh,
so
thanks.
Awesome. Well, I guess, but before I move on from that, where can people go to check out more about VR Cave, specifically given the latest game?
Yeah, so if they want to learn about our VR escape rooms and where to play that's where vrcave.io will take you.
Cave.io.
Yeah. That's but our Heroes Together stuff, we're actually shipping that under a different brand name just so it doesn't cause confusion, because like someone's like, I want to play escape rooms, and I hear VRK's got escape rooms. What's all this Heroes Together stuff that you play at home? And vice versa, people who hear about Heroes Together, we don't want them being like, what's all this escape room stuff? I thought I was playing an RPG.
Yeah.
So yeah, the website to go to is if you Google Basement Bunker Labs and Heroes Together VR, both those will take you to the site where you can wishlist the game. And you can also find us on Steam as well. Heroes Together VR is on Steam.
Nice.
And the Meta Store as well.
Perfect. Okay. Well, as Nathaniel said, Heroes Together VR on Steam and as well as the Meta Store. Alternatively, of course, can Google Basement Bunker Labs and we'll get over to the site there. Remember to wishlist Heroes Together from Basement Bunker Labs. I love that name.
Yeah.
Is there a story there?
Yes, there is. So I kind of alluded it to in my AGS talk. But
Right.
The company VR Cave started in a basement. It was my brother and I. We were roommates, and it was just the two of us, a basement, and a dream, and a VR capable computer. And we
Need that.
Yeah, that was vital for a VR company. So. That's where it all started. So we when we had to come up with another name, we're like, well, it all started in this basement bunker lab. So let's go with that name.
Go with what you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, moving on to a few more headlines. Well, the suspense is over, and well, or is it? Just getting started. You can finally get your hands on Control-Alt-Deal from Only by Midnight, which launched on Steam back in July. Chaos meets capitalism, a turn-based strategy game of corporate dysfunction. So close to real life in some ways, I guess. But, if you haven't played it yet, well, this is your reminder. Be sure to check out Control-Alt-Deal, also on Steam today, and don't forget to leave a review for the team.
Oh, I should mention I've actually played it. Tons of fun. Highly recommended.
Love it. Well, see, another endorsement from another game developer in the space. So that gives wonders for that, and great endorsement. So thanks, Nathaniel, for those kind words. Moving on to GDX 2025, Game Discovery Exhibition, consisting of a conference and exhibition again this year, celebrating its 10th anniversary. It's one of the largest indie games celebrations by attendance. According to Interactive Arts Alberta, over 764,000 people came through K-Days with record-breaking single-day numbers. Of course, IAA crushed it again with GDX in its 10th year, creating space for devs to connect with audiences and friends. Stay tuned and head over to Interactive Arts Alberta for 2026 dates and other updates as they go along. Alberta Game Jam, meanwhile, made some noise this summer with the theme Onomatopoeia. I love that theme. I feel like that could go in so many different directions. I love it. Yeah. Shout out to everyone, of course, who pulled that old nighter. Edmonton saw over 60 people, if I'm not mistaken, showing up with similar numbers down in Calgary and Lethbridge. Lethbridge, to note, actually was one of the highest turnouts they ever had with Alberta Game Jam. Of course, putting the Battle of Alberta aside, the Calgary Game Developers Association celebrated 10 years of building the local game dev community at their original location of their monthly meetups for a fun callback to the work they've done. Of course, you can check out itch.io to explore this year's submissions for Alberta Game Jam, and be sure to continue to support indie devs and check out hackathons and game jams like this one to continue to meet new people, make some new games, and at the end of the day, just doing some cool shit. Moving on to Baby Ghosts Alberta launches an accelerator. Huge shout out to the team at Interactive Arts Alberta and the Walkthrough Collaborative Center. They've launched Baby Ghosts Alberta, a new accelerator that offers $25,000 in funding and mentorship for marginalized developers. The accelerator is inspired by the peer accelerator model that started in Toronto. You can check out babyghost.fund/peer-accelerator for details and apply for the first Alberta cohort. We'll be sure to link all of this in the show notes so you can get the direct links. Looking more broadly, and of course, it seems to be every quarter now, there's something new happening, of course, in the industry as a whole with some more shakeups. 2K Games confirmed layoffs at Firaxis, the Civilization studio, and downsizing at BioShock 4 developer Cloud Chamber. And of course, the big one, EA officially was taken private last month in September in a $55 billion buyout backed by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners. Another lot, some big headlines there in the last quarter. Nathaniel, Travis, just want to hear your thoughts, just from reacting to when you first heard the news of those headlines, and, just how'd you take it? And honestly, what do you think this means, for Alberta, for Edmonton, when we look at the game dev scene here?
Yeah, it's I swear every week something comes out and it's like just another bombshell that's like the next step up. I remember reading the EA rumors like the Friday before it happened, like with a lot of people, and being like, wow, this is wild. And then Monday all of a sudden it drops and it's like, okay, this is reality. Going back to the layoffs there with especially on 2K with Firaxis and Cloud Chamber, I know on our side of things, and we know a lot of people on 2K that's unfortunately no longer on those projects, which is a little bit sad. But at the same time, I'm still optimistic that both of those studios are going to recover. And hopefully, I don't want to say it's for the better, but it's still going to lead to a really strong product, in my opinion. But we never want to see layoffs. And 2K is not the only studio, obviously. I think pretty much everybody's been affected in some way, shape, or form, whether directly or indirectly. And that's kind of been the sentiment in terms of the EA stuff. I know we're not talking that it's going to close until Q1 of 2027. And for right now, there's no immediate changes to how people their day-to-day goes. But I'm not an EA employee. I don't know. I can't really comment on what I would be feeling, but there's a lot of people just through comments and through secondhand. It's like, okay, they're a little uneasy and unsure, especially because this is a leverage buyout. And every time that there's a leverage buyout, it doesn't matter where it is, there is layoffs. It is just part of the formula. So like we're at a 99% certainty it's going to happen. And this is obviously not even touching the other side of this in terms of who is buying EA. What does it mean? Are they buying EA for EA Sports? Well, of course, yes, they are. But are they buying it for EA Entertainment? The jury is still out on that one in terms of what that means.
Right. Nathaniel, anything?
I know even Inflection Games here in Edmonton also saw some layoffs, and we actually... Yeah. It was kind of good for us because we picked up a few people. So, but yeah, I know there was some people talk about there was a big surge in game development during the pandemic, and we're just seeing a correction now is the theory. But still, it's never good to hear people who are pursuing their passion or dreams of game development being laid off. And I don't know, hopefully... They can continue to develop games, even if that maybe means breaking into the indie scene or doing something smaller scale.
Yeah, that's the one key thing you mentioned there that I always try to bring up is when you see the headlines, it's like, hey, we laid off 50 people or 100 people or 1,000 people. Truly, there is no difference when people read those headlines between 50 and 5,000. They're like, okay, that sucks, whatever, right? It's just how it is. It sucks. But when you start to put names and faces to those people in terms of what that actually means to them as a person, it hits you a million times harder. So I always encourage people when we're talking about layoffs is like really dive deep and be like, yeah, these are people that are losing their jobs. They could be very uncertain about their future, what they want to do. Maybe they have to leave games, and that would be unfortunate because we don't want to keep people out of games. We don't want to gatekeep. But all that said, it is still a business at the end of the day. So I do understand from the business side of things that, hey, we just can't pay everybody and make everything and pretend it's all sunshine and rainbows, because it's not.
Yeah.
In terms of kind of looking at the more local scene in response to seeing more headlines like this, what's sort of your approach in terms of continuing to just, do your work, but still encouraging that, yes, this is happening, but at the same time, we still have a lot of momentum, a lot of runway to continue going based off of what we're doing here. I know it's not realistic to, have blinders on and ignore the broader industry, but obviously we want to still keep encouraging, especially new grads coming out of post-secondary with programs like NATE, and encouraging them to come into the industry. With seasoned professionals like yourselves, what's sort of the approach that you continue to try and keep in the back of your minds? Obviously, these are real people losing jobs at the same time, but with the communities like we have here in Edmonton and throughout Alberta, what's some of the kind of the mindset that you try and have, especially when you're trying to communicate with community members, your teams, yourselves, as well as those students coming out of school?
It's the kind of the mantra that the rising tide lifts all boats type of thing. So when we see studios such as VR Cave and other studios having success with their own titles or success with the CMF funding, that's only going to help. When we're seeing organizations and communities like Game Camp and Calgary Game Scene, heck, even organizations like Scaffold and IIA and Digital Alberta, the more people that are involved in the community, the better. That's just where things are going to make the most impact. I know we're kind of all introverts in the gaming world, and we all want to sit at home and make our game, kind of sit in our corner and don't interact. But on the business side of things, I always tell people, just put yourself out there, right? Like, just go experience who else is making a really cool project, talk to them about it, be interested about it, get to know them as people, because we don't know where people are going to be at in their career in 5 years' times. Maybe we have some studios that really take off and all of a sudden we have 3 AAAs in Edmonton. We don't know.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah. But at the same time, we can't really bank on that or count on that. All we can do is essentially just grab the person next to us and say, hey, you know what, if we're going up, then we got to try to take as many people with us as we can. We don't want to take our gold and run to the mountains and kind of hoard over it type thing. That's not the recipe for success that we want to see as an industry.
Mm-hmm. And just a point you touched on, I would definitely encourage if a student is wondering, should I go into game dev program? I see all these terrible headlines. I would not let that discourage them. First of all, it takes years to get through a program anyways, and who knows what the industry will look like by the time you graduate. So you might as well do what you're passionate about and what you love.
Life is short. You might as well take a risk and take a shot, right? Like, it's coming from a background where I'm not a creative, I don't design, I'm not an artist, I'm not an engineer. Hats off to those guys because they're wicked smart. I never thought I would be in games, but I'm a big gamer. I loved it growing up, and I somehow stumbled into it, and I consider myself very, very lucky. So if I can do it, I feel like I could always tell people, you know what, if I'm here, like, I'm sure you could be here too.
Yeah. No, it's good points from both of you, and I think even just with my own experience, completely unrelated to games, I took broadcasting at NATE nearly just over a decade ago. So, knowing that media was having its own struggles and continues to have its own struggles today with more and more downsizing and job losses and just, all of these different changes, not so much for the better, but, I still went into it knowing that I didn't want to do news. I wanted to do content creation. I wanted to do storytelling, stuff like this. And, here we are. We're doing, I think at the end of the day, in some shape or form, we're doing what we love. We're doing some cool things. And, just, I think, continuing to encourage people that, these are lows. I think there was, a good analogy that you gave in your recent talk at Alberta Game Series in terms of that negative portion and climbing out of it.
The trough of sorrow.
The trough of sorrow. I love that. It's true. Depending on where we're at in our careers, starting off, becoming more seasoned, we're in that trough of sorrow. It might seem doom and gloom. We don't have a lot of money in the bank. I'm speaking from experience too, climbing up and, finding that next thing to get us over the hump to that next level and continuing to level up. Like, no pun intended, but really, like, seriously though, it's good to see that the momentum is still going, the enthusiasm is still there. And I do appreciate that insightful words that you both gave just now. Especially towards, recent grads. Because, I can only imagine, as each semester goes by, what are these students thinking in terms of, am I making the right call? Should I go do something else? Should I just go into, trades or business?
Yeah, and we haven't even mentioned AI, unfortunately, which is a whole separate conversation, right? And that's a whole, no matter how well the game industry is doing, it's kind of on everybody's minds, but like, where is this going? But probably the good news for students is look at it this way.
Yeah.
Juniors and kind of the next crop are more or less, or can be considered some of the most important people in the industry, because where's everyone going to be in 10 years? Are they going to be, where are you going to be in your own journey? A lot of people leave the industry every single day, but if we don't have that new talent, that those juniors coming up, then what does that look like? I can speak from experience on Snowed Inside, right? We are a studio in Ottawa, so it's not like a Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver. When we hire, juniors are our most important hires, because I think the stat is something ridiculous. Like 90% of people who start their career with us at Snowed In have stayed with us. And some of our most impressive talent and strike teams and really highly sought after resources started as juniors that we hired, and we gave them a chance and we developed them and they crushed it. And right. So it's one of those things where if you put on those lenses as a student, understand like, hey, the smart studios, the people that really understand that what's going on, they're going to value you.
100%. Well, I'll keep it going here with a few more headlines, and then kind of get some more of your thoughts as we go here. Of course, we have a new title that was announced just recently in the last quarter. Calgary-based Zoogaloo Entertainment revealed Tempered Hue, cozy blacksmith sim with a darker twist. You run your forge, build relationships, and craft your destiny. Literally. Tempered Hue is coming soon to PC and consoles, and if you love good life sim, wishlist on Steam. Plus, catch the announcement trailer right now. Lucid Rain Studios, major props to the gang over there who went full-time on production for Infurious as of October 6th. Big leap for an Alberta indie studio at the moment, so huge shout out to them following their CMF funding, of course. Now, I know that's the start of Q4, but you know what? We want to mention it anyway to give a huge shout out to them as they get into production. And looking forward to seeing their journey and the story, of course, through Infurious. Of course, go to lucidrainstudios.com for more updates, and remember to wishlist Infurious. Now, before I get into the next segment to looking at Q4, any other thoughts, comments, anything that I might have missed to kind of looking back on the last quarter?
It's a good question. I feel like everything blends together. I don't know what's Q3 or Q2 or Q1, and
I know.
I barely know what day it is anymore.
Between July and September, I guess. The nice summer vibes portion of the year, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel that was pretty thorough.
I think we covered most things.
Yeah, cool. I think we got everything.
Cool. Awesome. I feel like Q4 is going to be a great roundup as we go a little deeper dive into Alberta Game Series, of course, for the next recording, which will hopefully be slated near just before the end of the year. Now, looking ahead, there's, of course, still plenty of things cooking up as we head into Q4. Alberta Game Series, as we mentioned earlier, just wrapped during Edmonton's Startup Week. As of the, the first full week of October here as we record this episode. The theme this year for the talks was Sustainable Indies and the Pathway to AA in Alberta. Among the talks was a pitch competition, with the winner being Rebounder from 33 Games, and the runner-up was Highway Hijinks from Ode Software. Both will be headed to Banff to participate in Game Invest West from October 22nd to 23rd. A great chance to meet investors and publishers alike. More details can head over to gameinvestwest.ca. Norquest College launched an introduction to its esports micro-credential. The 32-hour foundational online course is made up of 3 badges: Business of Esports, Marketing in Esports, and Emerging Trends. It's perfect if you're thinking about a career in esports, working in sectors like marketing, media, or hospitality, and want to tap into the esports scene. Or if you're just curious about how esports can build communities and brands, well, it sounds like this micro-credential could be for you. This is not an ad. This is still a headline for Q4. Go beyond the game and register at norquest.ca/esports. And the Alberta Scholastic Esports League, ASEL, is accepting venue proposals until October 31st for the 2026 Alberta Esports Championship, the country's largest scholastic esports event. It's a 3-day in-person event for up to 400 junior high and high school students competing in Rocket League, Valorant, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The ideal venue needs plenty of space, power, and network infrastructure to support the in-person and online audiences. Over 550 students have competed in the AEC since it first launched back in 2024. Now you can visit asel.gg to learn more on how to bring this event to your city. Dibs on Edmonton. Dibs on Edmonton, please. Somewhere, just please, for the love of God, just someone in Edmonton, please submit to get this event here, whether it's Nate, Edmonton Expo Center, I don't know, but would love to have it here in Edmonton.
I just want to play. I want to like grab my IM12 ID or whatever it is and say, yeah, I can play, right?
Can I be in high school again? I'm just like, this is like the free period kind of class, outside of like CTS, not like social or any of the core subjects. We can come back as alum. If assuming we were born and raised, but I mean, we could get an ID. I don't know. I'm going to keep going because I feel like this is getting off topic. But Extra Life Edmonton Game Day is happening November 8th at the WEM Ice Palace. Let's have some fun and help raise money for the Stollery Children's Hospital. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. And of course, we'll link that in the show notes. And of course, you can also do your own live stream, raising money through Extra Life. I think I'll be maybe doing something, whether it's just for the show or maybe through work. But I know I've heard hints and rumors about that internally at my office, but also just seeing other companies, students taking part each year. It's always fun to see, especially when you get politicians in the mix as well, playing games, interacting with youth and just all ages. So really fun to see that, and be sure to check that out this November. Wow, that was a lot of headlines. Anything else from either of you, Nathaniel, Travis? Anything to tease of as we get into the last few months of 2025?
Yeah, the thing I'll kind of tease, it's not really a tease, is if you're not a Digital Alberta member,
Yes.
please look into becoming one. We're revamping our membership program. That will happen very soon and very shortly, with a focus on giving more value to our members within Alberta. So if you have any interest in that, feel free to reach out to me directly. And of course, if you want to get involved even more so, we're always looking for quality people to join a Digital Alberta board and really help drive the motor, which is the Alberta games industry.
Love it. And as a former volunteer on the comms committee and for roughly a year board member, great time. Of course, they help put on Alberta Game Series. Now, just quickly for those who may or may not know, just to kind of give a quick spiel on the membership side, what are some of the options in terms of what you're looking for in terms of groups, individuals, that kind of thing?
Pretty much anything I'm going to say might be out of date by the time that we actually revamp
That's
it.
fair.
So
That's
it's
fair.
one of those things where I'd put it this way. If you're not a member, seriously, strongly consider it. There's going to be value for you, whatever tier it may be or whatever that kind of fleshes out to be. The goal for our members is not to drive revenue for the organization. It really is to say, hey, I'm a member of Digital Alberta. I'm a proud member of this community. What can we do to grow this industry together? Like I said, it's that rising tide lifts all boats mantra. So whether you're one person, you're a single studio, whether you're a developer, a student, there's going to be options for you.
I guess me doing this with Digital Alberta, does this count as being a semi-member? I don't know. Travis, we'll talk after this. No, I appreciate that. Thanks for that update. Nathaniel, anything on the VR Cave side?
Yeah. It's getting close to the end of the year. We're about to release our new escape room game, and we're always looking for beta testers to come down. You can't play it at home, so you got to come down to our offices, but it's a chance to check out the office and play some of our games. So if you send a message to info@vrcave.ca, we can hopefully get you on the beta list, and you can test out some games before anyone else does.
Awesome. No, appreciate that. Of course, we're spewing a lot of links out to you. Of course, these will be linked in the show notes of this episode. Lots to capture, big roundup. So we'll be sure to have all these links so you can access what you're looking for, what you want to demo, what you want to try out, and what you want to learn more of. That's your Q3 Party Chat update. Alberta's still building, adapting, and shipping incredible games. Huge thanks to our guests, Travis Gibson from Digital Alberta and Snowden Studios, and of course, Nathaniel Rossol from VR Cave for joining me this round of Party Chat. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking the time, of course, out of your busy schedules. And of course, we're still coming off of Alberta Game Series, and for those who went the extra mile and participated in Edmonton Startup Week, so I think this Thanksgiving long weekend will be well earned for many of us. Of course, if you liked this update, hit that subscribe button, share it with your crew. Come back next quarter as we recap the remainder of the year and looking ahead to 2026. Head over to goodgameyeg.ca/partychat to get these quarterly roundups firsthand. And of course, you can check out the rest of the show at just goodgameyeg.ca, either there or, of course, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Corey Sellercast Seller. This has been Party Chat on Good Game Edmonton. Until next time, keep building cool shit, and remember to wishlist, demo, or buy Alberta-made games.